I need that money. I really, really do. I need that money. I really need that money. Really need that money. I need that money. I really, really do. I need that money. I really need that money. Really need that money. Really, that money. That money.
About my thoughts about the game. Now that I'm done with it, I'm not going to play it anymore. Okay? All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've just completed my gameplay coverage of Mario Kart World here on my channel, DSP Gaming, after roughly 20 or so hours of gameplay, give or take. It might be a little bit more, it might be a little bit less. I made about 19 videos, and this covered playing the entirety of the single-player content of the game, meaning all of the circuits, unlocking the secret circuits, and even doing Rainbow Road and all of that on the hardest difficulty level. Then going online and playing all the various online modes, including the standard single races, because they don't have online circuits anymore. Then the battle mode, and also a significant, probably 15 hours worth of the knockout tour, which really is the one new feature of this game, adding in all these courses connected together into actual circuits. Also, I did play some of the open world roaming mode. You know, the fact that this game has an open world that you can roam around and you can look for challenges, you can look for hidden question mark blocks or the Peach tokens. So I've pretty much done all of the content of the game. I've unlocked every single cart. The only thing I actually didn't do is I didn't complete all the open world challenges, and I didn't unlock every single outfit for every character. And you might say, well, first of all, why didn't you unlock all the open world challenges? Because they're completely pointless. If you're not aware, Nintendo advertised Mario Kart World as the first Mario Kart game to have an open world to wander, and said, hey, you're going to want this game because it has more content than any Mario Kart before. You're going to have all these challenges and hidden items and all of that. But what they failed to tell you was that it's completely pointless. All of that open world challenge content literally does nothing. Does it unlock any characters? No. Does it unlock any carts? No. Does it unlock any content at all within the game? No. It's actually completely pointless. What you get are these stickers that you can apply to your profile and stuff. They mean nothing. There's no reason to do any of the content. Imagine that, a video game that presents you with all of this challenge, but never gives you any outcome after you do it all. Why do it then? If there's no carrot that you're dangling in front of me to keep me moving, if there's no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, then why am I going to grind my way through all of this content? It's as if Nintendo had the idea, but literally never finished it. Said, well, we'll advertise like we finished it, but we actually aren't going to. We're just going to have it there for content's sake. This is classic bloat, and it's what's happened, sadly, in the last decade. As consoles were able to start making games that had more content in them, big open worlds, what these game developers started doing was putting in frivolous, repeating, boring, open world grinding content. Think games like Far Cry, or think games like Assassin's Creed. Huge worlds, but what's the point of killing every enemy, taking over every base, and doing every objective if you don't get anything meaningful for it? Well, this is the classic textbook case of that. Nintendo wanted to say this was the biggest Mario Kart ever, but they didn't put any effort into it. But hey, they charged you $80 for the game. Because you might say, well, why else would Nintendo charge $80 for Mario Kart World? Well, it has the same amount of tracks as previous Mario Kart games. So it's not the amount of tracks. It has a good amount of racers, but most of the racers are just skins of other racers, and they don't have any difference from them. So it doesn't have more characters. It doesn't have more carts than previous Mario Karts. Okay, what does it have? Better graphics. I will give it that. On the Switch 2, this game runs beautifully at 4K resolution. It runs at a smooth 60 frames per second, and it never really dips. So I will say that. It's the best looking Mario Kart ever made. Also, this game is absolutely great at nostalgia bait. And what I mean by that is if you're a previous fan of old school Mario Kart or any of these Nintendo franchises, Donkey Kong, Mario, etc., you're going to love playing through this game once or twice and seeing all the nostalgic throwback tracks or hearing the remixes of old music from the era of SNES or Nintendo 64 or GameCube. It hits you right here, right in the heartstrings. You're like, oh man, this feels like something from my childhood, but it's made for me as an adult. The problem is, nostalgia bait isn't enough to carry an entire game. And when it actually comes down to the gameplay elements of Mario Kart World, it's arguably one of the worst Mario Karts they've ever made. In fact, I would say the only Mario Kart that I've played that I could say is actually worse than this one would actually have been the Mario Kart that was on the Nintendo DS. I can't remember the name of it, but it was the first one that ever had the competitive online play. And the reason that I say that is because that game's entire gameplay loop was snaking. That game, what you needed to do was power slide left, boost, power slide right, boost, power slide left, boost. And if you didn't do that, you literally couldn't win a race. The entire game, you just had to snake. And it was stupid because it was a gimmick that should have just been that, a gimmick, and not dominating the competitive nature of the game. Mario Kart World is so bad when it comes to the competitive play. Actual driving skill is a completely moot point because the game now has 24 racers. At any given moment, someone who's in last place can get the blue shell, the lightning, the bullet bill transformation, the big mushroom transformation, and immediately turbo through everyone right into the top 8. And this happens over and over and over again. Now, admittedly, you do need to have some competence. If you're absolutely garbage at the game, you're not going to win races. But for the most part, playing well is not rewarded, but punished. Because there's 24 racers, if you're out front and you get hit by an item, chances are you're then going to get hit by another one and another one. It's going to become a chain reaction. And there have been several times where I am absolutely dominating a race front of the pack, and I get hit either by a red shell or a blue shell or whatever it is, and then I get comboed, then I'm at the end of the pack. Then when I go to drive again, you're in last place. Oops, you couldn't get to the qualifier spot, and you're eliminated. But I was the best player. I was literally sitting in first for like 3-4 minutes. How can you punish me for that? Mario Kart doesn't care. Mario Kart World is not a competitive game. It's a party game made for, people to just mash buttons and get lucky. And in fact, what people have said is the meta of the game has actually become how to stack, stockpile, and use items, not how to drive. So I just want you to think about that for a moment. Nintendo created a driving game where they put so many players into it and so many overpowered items that driving takes a back seat to abusing the items. Wow, that sounds like a good idea, doesn't it? No, it doesn't at all. And the sad fact is, even if you get good at that, if you get good at, I know how to stockpile my items, I know how to predict when someone's going to get a lightning bolt so I don't lose my items, it even doesn't matter. Allow me to explain why. The standard races are horrible. You do one single race, and then it cancels out, and then it rematches you, and you do one single race. There's no 1, 2, 3 placements. No one earns a trophy. The classic Mario Kart feeling has been completely removed from the game, so the actual standard online play is a waste of your time. But what about battle mode? It's awful. It's incredibly boring. What they tried to do is recreate battle mode from the SNES game, but it's so boring when you're just in this tiny arena and you're driving in circles, throwing items at each other. It's just stupid and pointless. The only actual mode that has any legs in this game is called Knockout Tour. So what Knockout Tour is, it's the mode where you have to keep placing in the top few places every time that you hit a checkpoint to continue racing. If you don't get into that top category of places, you get eliminated, and then you're out of the race. It's very exciting, and this is the mode where you get to see all the tracks are connecting to each other in the game, which really is the only one new feature they added to this game. I believe I want to say there's 5 or 6 different circuits that you can race on, and they are randomly selected. You don't get to select them. You just get randomly thrown into them. There's no selection process or anything like that. And so when you play this mode, the higher you place, you earn points. And so you're going to see this points total accumulate. But there's a small problem. The points actually have absolutely no meaning at all. There's no categories, rankings. You don't go from, stone to iron to copper, silver, gold, diamond, plat. Doesn't exist. There's no ranking system at all. You can't see how good you are compared to other players. It's completely pointless. It's just a number that either goes up or down, depending on how well you do. The higher you place, the more points you'll get. If you place horribly, you lose points. But who cares? The game doesn't match you according to your points at all. You'll be in a match, you have 5,000 points, you'll be in a match with people who have 1,000 points and people who have like 10,000 points. The game doesn't care. It just puts you with anyone anyway. So they don't mean anything. They're completely frivolous. Why do they even exist? I don't know. The thing is, if Nintendo was going to charge $80 for this game, you would think they would have put in enough effort to say, hey, we're going to make our game competitive. We're going to have leagues. We're going to have rankings. You're going to want to get to the master level, much like if you're playing a competitive fighting game and you're ranking up, or maybe you're playing Call of Duty and you have incremental unlocks. No, there's nothing. I'm serious. There's absolutely nothing. The only stuff that you can unlock in this game is carts, and you get that just by naturally collecting coins over time, or outfits for characters, which you get by collecting the food bags on the stages. So it doesn't matter if you're good or bad. You're going to unlock everything eventually anyway. So what's the point of online play? What's the point of the ranking system with the points? Nothing. It has no purpose at all. Again, it feels just like the open world, something that Nintendo half developed, didn't finish, and said, oh well, release it, sell it for $80. The game is full of half-cocked, half-finished ideas and doesn't feel like a complete product at all. An unfinished open world, a complete nonsensical online play system. What the hell happened with this game in development? And if you want to know the honest truth, here's what I actually think has happened. I think that Mario Kart World actually wasn't intended to be the launch title for the Switch 2. And you can call me crazy. I think that this game was supposed to be released later down the line, maybe in the fall, maybe in the winter. But they really wanted to have a first-party game to become the flagship title for the Switch 2. But they also didn't want to put all their eggs in one basket. So what they did is they said, hey, is this game ready to release now? Well, technically it is. It just doesn't have full features. Who cares? It's a launch title, and it's the only first-party launch title. Outside of Mario Kart World, the only other games available for the Switch 2 at launch were ports. Ports of games that you could have already played on another platform. So if it's the only unique experience that you can get, guess what? People are going to buy it regardless of the price. And that's exactly what happened. Mario Kart World was released half-finished for exorbitantly expensive pricing, even though it didn't have the features in it to warrant said pricing. But everyone bought it because we all wanted this original first-party game at the launch of Switch 2. It literally was a ripoff, and Nintendo knew exactly what they were doing, and they don't care. Because here's the truth, everyone. Nintendo doesn't care about you. Did you hear what I just said? Nintendo, the company, does not care about you. It doesn't matter what you think or this fanboy mentality that you may be a part of and this weird cultish like that. Oh, wait, but they always release good games. What about the amiibos? What about the... Nintendo does not care about the common consumer whatsoever. You want to know what Nintendo cares about? Money. Just like any other corporation, all they care about is making profits. They don't care about the quality. They don't care about anything. Seriously, all they want is to make money. So what they've done with the Switch 2 is did artificial scarcity. Oh, you can't get the console at launch. It's hard to get. Yet there were more than enough to sell. They just held back at providing them to the market. Oh, the only game available at launch is Mario Kart World. Oh, by the way, Donkey Kong Bonanza was finished, but they decided to wait a month and a half to sell it to create artificial scarcity. For the console you just dropped $450 for, maybe you wouldn't have bought a multiplayer game. But since it's the only first-party game available, sell it quick, sell it for $80, make everyone pay top dollar for it. You'll forget about it in a month because Donkey Kong's coming out. You see what they did? They actually used a savvy business strategy. The thing is, it's anti-consumer, it's anti-gamer, and it's actually downright immoral. They sold you an $80 game that wasn't finished, that didn't even have as many features as previous Mario Kart games, but they lied to you and said it had more. They said there was an open world, but the open world is meaningless and empty. They said that the online play was different, but actually the online play is unfinished. Do you notice there's no uproar in the gaming community about it, though? Because it's Nintendo. Because Nintendo has this weird fan base of obsessed cult-like people who, no matter what Nintendo does, they can do no wrong. I don't care that Nintendo has this weird fan base of obsessed cult-like people who, no matter what Nintendo does, they can do no wrong. I don't care that you sold me a half-finished game for more money than every other game because you're Nintendo and I love you. You can't do anything wrong. Everything's always good with Nintendo, right? No. I'm sorry, but the modern gaming landscape is different. There's a lot of competition out there. PC, PlayStation, Xbox, all of these handheld things now, the ROG Ally and all this. There's a lot of ways you can play games. You don't need to buy the Switch 2 to get a family-friendly experience anymore. You can actually get that on other platforms now. So Nintendo should be forced to justify the purchase of the Switch 2 at $450 and an $80 purchase of this flagship title. They've done nothing to do that, yet people still bought it in droves. Do you see the problem here? If consumerism's attitude doesn't change, if people don't stop spending on things that are inferior or mediocre, there will never be incentive for a company like Nintendo to ever do better for you. Do you think Nintendo would ever release something like Nintendo Game Pass? No! Why on earth would they do that? You're spending $80 for an unfinished Mario Kart. Why would they do a Nintendo Game Pass where they give you new games for a subscription? Are you out of your mind? Of course they're never going to do that. But that's because you reward mediocrity, okay? So Mario Kart World is a great-looking nostalgia bait trap. It performs very well. It has great remixed music. The tracks look great. But once you peel back that shiny exterior, you see a game that's bare bones, a bait-and-switch ad campaign with an open world that's completely frivolous, empty, and worthless, online play that has absolutely no effort put into it, Oh, by the way, there's also one final point that I need to make that no one else has talked about on the internet. You ready for this? Mario Kart World lags when you play it online. And you might say, wait, it does? Why haven't I heard anyone say anything about that? In fact, I've heard the opposite. I've heard people say that it doesn't lag. Do you want to know why? Because once again, Nintendo is dishonest in this game. They actually hide the lag. What do I mean by that? Well, a lot of games with online competitive play, if there's lag, they'll slow down the game in order for the game to be able to play catch up. Mario Kart World doesn't do that. It continues to always play at full speed. But what happens is the game starts to kind of bug out. So for example, you'll see Wario will be right here in front of you. He'll disappear and then he'll reappear way in front of you. What? A red shell will be thrown at you and the detector will go off. You have the speaker. So you press the button to stop the red shell will hit you. Why didn't my speaker go off? I pressed the button. But the game never lags, right? No, the game is lagging, but Nintendo doesn't make the game slow down. It still plays full speed. So it hides the lag. You may not notice it because the game is so chaotic as it is that things are always going crazy. With 24 characters on the screen, it's hard to keep track of what's happening at any given moment. But there's tons of times when you get hit by something that's not there. Or people are teleporting left, right, or all around. If you don't believe me, there is one absolutely irrefutable piece of evidence that proves what I'm saying. When you're playing Knockout Tour mode online and you reach one of the gates to qualify and continue to race, all of a sudden in your corner of your screen, it'll say you're in third place, fourth place. But as you approach the gate, it disappears. Then you drive through the gate. The game takes about half a second to figure it out. And then all of a sudden, the game will tell you whether or not you qualified. And then after another half a second, your ranking will appear again. If the game didn't lag, why would it need to erase your ranking, try to compute where you are, and then tell you later? It would just keep you in that place. But it actually doesn't know because it lags. It actually has to think for a second, and it has to look at all of its calculations to see where you are and figure it out and then tell you later. So for a split second, it actually exposes the fact that it has a lot of lag, but then it goes back to hiding it by having everything go in real time. So this is probably one of the most interesting ways I've ever seen lag hidden, because I've seen multiple games like Street Fighter, Call of Duty. They all do it a little differently these days. But this is actually the most dishonest I've ever seen. To not have the game ever slow down or stutter, but then to have things happen in the game that literally didn't happen on your screen, like a person disappearing and reappearing way in front of you, or an item hitting you that literally doesn't exist in the game on your screen, or not responding when you press your button so your speaker can't stop a shell. It's pretty bad. And there have been times when I'm at like 18th place and I'm at the qualification gate. You must be top 20 to qualify. My ranking disappears. I drive through and it's eliminated. But I was in 18th. Well, actually, I wasn't. But the game hid the lag by saying that I was in 18th, deleting that, and then just saying you're eliminated. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mario Kart World is a great-looking nostalgia bait game that is arguably one of the worst of this game's franchise ever. And that's sad because we waited a decade for a new Mario Kart to come out. Remember, they kept selling and reselling Mario Kart 8. They had DLCs and expansions. When's the next one? Well, here it is. And now it's unfinished. It's broken, it's empty, it's way too expensive, it doesn't have content, and it lags. What a joke. But no one's talking about it. Why? Because everyone already moved on to Donkey Kong Bonanza. And that was Nintendo's plan all along. Release this game as the launch title, and then before anyone has a chance to figure out what's going on, move on to the next exclusive so everyone will be done with it and no one will care. It's marketing genius and it's business 101, but gamers are too ignorant to figure this out. Well, I'm not. I played for 20 hours and I can tell you, game's bad. Sorry, it just is. If you love Mario Kart, you'll get some enjoyment out of this game. But as a game that's value for your buck, or a game that even is like refutable, like, oh, this is a game that's good in the rankings of Mario Kart. No, it's not. It's actually one of the worst ones they've ever made. They just won't tell you and no one will talk about it because we're already playing Bonanza and we won't talk about this game again. It already passed. They got away with it. So if you've been waiting, is this a system seller? No. You do not need to Switch 2 just to play Mario Kart. You'll be done in 3 to 4 hours and you will be absolutely bored. Okay? So my final thoughts on Mario Kart World. It was a fun romp for 20 hours. I got my money's worth out of it as a content creator, but value for the dollar for the average consumer is not there. $80 is insanely overpriced for what they've put together. Nintendo has successfully pulled the wool over everyone's eyes, making this a launch title that everyone's already forgotten about. The game is an absolute ripoff, and you shouldn't waste $80 on it unless you are the most hardcore, die-hard Mario Kart fan. This is a skip. But here's the worst part all about it, ladies and gentlemen. Are you ready for this one? Even though you already paid $80 plus tax to play this game, in a year's time, Nintendo will release DLC. They will release more tracks, more content, more racers, and the like, and they're going to charge you $30 to $40 for it. Even though you already paid more than the game was worth at launch, they are not going to give you free DLC. They're going to nickel and dime you again for more content that should have been present in the launch of the game. I don't know what else to say. It's that simple. Nintendo has lost their way. Nintendo used to be better than this, but this is now their business strategy. What it is that people are so blindly following Nintendo that they just buy everything. So even though you already got ripped off, in a year, it's like Stockholm Syndrome. I'll just buy again. I'll spend more. Why are you spending more? You already got ripped off. Well, I got to spend more anyway. It's Nintendo. Then Nintendo will never change. Nintendo will never improve if you continue to reward their scamming nature and the mediocrity of what they're putting out in the modern day. It didn't used to be like this. Nintendo always used to go the extra mile. They made sure that their first-party titles had tons of content, polish, and attention, and quality. Remember the Nintendo seal of quality? It used to mean something. Now, it's a joke. Even the first-party titles look nice, but outside of that, there's just no substance, and that's sad. In 2025, Nintendo has essentially become a company that coasts. And they used to be the innovators in gaming. They used to be synonymous with greatness. When you didn't used to say, I want to play a video game, you say, I'm going to go play Nintendo. Do you say that today? No, because Nintendo has been the company that coasts on their previous laurels and doesn't put in the effort to earn your dollar, but you keep spending it. Mario Kart World is a ripoff. I don't recommend it unless you're a hardcore fan, but you're probably going to buy it anyway because no one listens. There you go. That's my final thoughts. All right. All righty. Well, folks, now that that's out of the way, let's do some shout outs. And then we're going to try to figure out what we're going to now play since Mario Kart is out of the schedule and GTA is now a night stream. Okay? All right. We have a few shout outs to do.